Blood Moon by Leon Hamilton. Chapter 1. Blood and Concrete. The smell of hot garbage and hobo stank forced me to open my eyes. I'm not sure how I wound up in an alley, but it doesn't matter right now. I hear footsteps. Glancing to my right, I see someone coming. He's nervous. I can hear his heart pounding from here. Considering he keeps reaching for his waistband, I already know where this is going. I waited for him to get right up on me and jam a pistol in my gut.
Hey, give me the money.
Wincing and ignoring him, I slowly got to my feet and tilted my head to the side, cracking my neck.
You heard me, motherfucker. Empty your pockets.
Smiling, I pulled a wad of counterfeit bills from my pocket and held them up. As soon as his eyes locked on the bankroll, I knew I had him. A quick swipe of my left hand sent the pistol flying down the alley as a headbutt to the face crushed his nose. Before he knew it, I grabbed him by the throat, lifted him off the ground, and threw him down the alley. He sailed through the air and hit the ground with a meaty crack. It was a bad landing. His shoulder smacked the concrete, breaking bone and shredding flesh. The smell of his blood made my stomach growl. It was almost dinner time. Smiling, I watched him crawl around the filth, bleeding and begging for help, while I took off my jacket and started getting ready. The change always ruins my clothes, so a while back, I started stripping down to save money. When the dipshit saw me getting naked, he screamed rape and started trying to crawl away. Offended, I rushed over and stomped on his leg, then reached down, snapped his foot off at the ankle and threw it in the dumpster. My transformation isn't instant, but I wouldn't want my snack to get away. Right about there, he went into shock. He shit himself and passed out. Completely messed up half of my meal, but wasn't a big loss. I hate eating meth heads. Imagine injecting a steak with Novocaine, then toss in an armpit of funk and salty skin. Tastes like shit, but the high is usually pretty good. Once I was fully shifted over, I ripped him in half and ate till my high kicked in. That was a mistake. Not only was this guy a heavy user, but there was something else in his system that sent my brain into outer space. The next few hours are fuzzy. At some point I must have broken into a zoo, because I woke up in a wolf enclosure, spooning a female named Roxy. I can't say for sure what happened, but there's a chance I might have, done something regrettable. Luckily, no one spotted me. Once I was out of the enclosure, I needed clothes, so I broke into the gift shop, grabbed what I could, and got the hell out of there. By the time I made it home, I was exhausted. My fortress of solitude is an old 2-story shitbox in an area of town that should have been condemned years ago. It ain't much to look at, but the rent is cheap and it beats sleeping on the streets. When I walked through the front door, I realized a couple of things. One, I left the door unlocked. Not that it mattered. All my furniture came out of the garbage. Secondly, I lost my phone, my favorite jacket, and the bankroll of funny money. Well, shit. flopping down on the sofa, leaning my head back and closing my eyes. I tried to remember every place I had gone. I know I was at a bar, some dive on the south side, but I couldn't remember the name. The last thing I recall clearly was a woman with brown hair passing me a drink. At some point, I got up to use the restroom, but the next thing I remember is being in the alley. I'd obviously been drugged. That much I knew for sure, but I couldn't figure out why. After about an hour, I took some change out of my stash and walked to the corner store to grab a beer. On the way back, I ran into Nate. Nate's a good dude. He's my only human friend. Well, I guess technically he's my only friend, but whatever. He's also one of the two people that knows what I am. We met one night while I was killing his weed dealer. Instead of freaking out, he helped me rob the place and gave me a ride home. That was 2 years ago, and we've been running together ever since. When I saw him, I could tell by the look on his face we were about to get into something. Smiling, he threw his head up and hands up and said,
There he is, the man with the plan. What's up, big dog? Where you been?
Cracking the cap off my beer and taking a drink, I looked at him and shook my head. Before you say something stupid, I had a rough night. This better be good. Stepping back and pulling out a roll of bills from his pocket, he tossed it to me and smirked.
Come on, man, give me some credit. That's your cut from the pharmacy. You up for another one?
Stuffing the cash in my pocket, I shrugged and took another sip. Another pharmacy? You might want to change up. The last thing we need is a spot on the fucking news.
Nah, man, it's work. Something you can really sink your teeth into.
Something I can sink my teeth into is code. It meant he wanted me to kill someone. Rather than finish our conversation on the street, he gave me a ride home, and we talked on the way.
Remember Sergio? Well, one of his plugs just cut him off and he ain't happy about it. He's paying $150,000 to anyone who does the work.
$150 and a free meal? The last time you brought me something, we got stuck in Mexico. Pulling up in front of my house, he stopped the car and huffed.
Why you gotta bring up old shit? Let it go. Anyway, the downside is it has to happen in the next 2 days. The guy ain't from here. He's gonna be on the first flight out if we don't get to him first. This one's fresh off the press. News hasn't hit the street yet, so we got about 12 hours to get a head start. After that, every shooter in the city is gonna be on it and shit's gonna get hot.
My half of the money would be enough to set me straight for a while, so I told him I was in. Since he had a stop to make, Nate told me he'd be back to get me in an hour and drop me off. When I got inside, the woman from the bar was sitting on my sofa scrolling through her phone. Looking up at me, she smirked.
Oh, good. You're here. Hello, Travis.
Who the fuck? Was all I managed to say before she pressed something on her phone, and every muscle in my body turned to jello. Dropping face down to the floor, I felt the room start spinning, and then everything went black. I woke up in a concrete cell, with men in lab coats staring at me from protective glass. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but a few seconds later, that woman walked in, and they quickly exited the room. She smiled and waved, then pressed a button on the console in front of her.
Well, it's about time. You've been out for hours. I need you to answer a few questions for me. Then we can get to work. Okay?
Rubbing my eyes and sitting up. There was an itching sensation in the center of my back. Wincing and looking around, sniffing the air, I noticed the odor of ammonia and pine were being pumped through the vents. You gotta be fucking shitting me. The woman in the booth smirked, smiled, then shook her head.
Congratulations. You've been adopted. Welcome home.
I didn't know how to respond to that. It took me a second for the words to really hit me. What the fuck are you talking about? Still smiling, she took a seat, then cleared her throat.
I'll make this simple. You belong to me now. You'll do what I say when I say it, or you'll spend the rest of your life in this cell. I'm going to ask some questions, and you're going to answer them. If I think you're hiding something or lying, you'll be punished. When I'm satisfied you're telling the truth, we'll move on.
Putting my head down, I chuckled to myself. I was going to thoroughly enjoy ripping this bitch to pieces.
I can see by your elevated heart rate, you're probably thinking of some dramatic escape. Go ahead, try it out, but I can promise you'll regret it. The device attached to your spine gives me complete control of your body. For example, sleep.
My eyelids instantly felt heavy, and my muscles relaxed as I fell over on my side and drifted off.
Get up.
I could have been out for a minute or a day, but the second she said those words, my eyes opened.
Now, as I was saying, I have questions. You're not old enough to be in exile, so where's your pack?
Yawning and taking a moment to get on my feet and stretch, I shook my head. I don't fucking have one. Jotting something on a piece of paper, she nodded, then continued.
Are there any more of you in the city? And if so, how many and where?
None that I know of. Look, what is this shit? Why are you asking me this crap?
I'm asking because we need to know. Now, my next questions are very important, so I'll need you to be specific with your details. Are you a natural or a turn? If you're a turn, I'll need the details of when and where you were bitten. If you're a natural, I need to know where you're originally from and your bloodline.
I was born this way in a little town called Go Fuck Yourself, bitch. Now let me the fuck out of here. She paused for a moment, stood up, and pressed something on the console. The hiss of the door unsealing, followed by a clunk of the locks, almost gave me hope. Even in human form, I'm stronger than the average person. I could snap her neck and be halfway out of here before anyone knew what was happening. All I had to do was keep my cool and wait for my shot. Tilting her head to the side and narrowing her eyes, she looked at me, smirked, and said,
Sit.
I dropped to the floor and sat like a dog. It was fucking embarrassing. I couldn't do anything about it. When the door opened, she was walking in smiling.
Good boy. Keep this up and you might get a treat.
The sheer joy in her voice made me want to rip her in half. After jotting down a few notes on her clipboard, she stepped in front of me and looked me directly in the eyes.
Absolutely amazing. The fact that you look completely human is disturbing.
Straining every muscle in my body, I tried to reach out and grab her, but instead of choking her, I farted. Laughing and fanning the air in front of her face, she smirked again and continued to smile.
You're the first natural werewolf we've seen, which means there's more of you somewhere, and we need to find them. That's why you're here. You're going to help us.
Giving me that same odd smile, she took a breath and said,
Sleep.
Chapter 2, A Short Leash.
Wake up.
Her voice boomed in my head. I immediately woke up. Sitting up, gasping for air, it took a moment to realize I was back at home. Trying to get the fog out of my brain, I closed my eyes and shook my head. When I did, something fell out of my ear. Opening my eyes and looking down, I spotted an earpiece she used to wake me. After doing a quick search of the house, I flopped down on my couch and started trying to... I was trying to understand what was happening. I don't claim territory and I never hunt the same place twice. The fact that she called me by name bothered me. Either they have been watching me or someone pointed them in my direction. There's only two people in the city that know who I am, Nate and Lizzie. Lizzie is the only person I have ever turned. I'd been stalking a group of campers on a survival hike, and she was part of the group. Back then, I used to have a scheme. I'd get out ahead of my target by a mile or so and injure myself. In this case, it was a broken arm because they're the easiest to heal. When the group would find me, I'd stay with them for a while. During that time, I would slowly kill them all. Well, about 2 days into the plan, I hit a snag in the form of a storm. We were forced to take shelter in a small cave, and that's where the shit went wrong. The sleeping situation made it impossible to isolate any of them, which was the first problem. The second issue was the fact that the two of them brought hunting rifles. They wouldn't be able to put me down, but getting shot hurts like hell. And there's nothing worse than getting blasted a few times for trying to get a meal. Last of all, the biggest problem was me. I was starving. Hunger's a game changer. I've been out there for a week without food. I should have waited till we were able to get back on the trail, but I couldn't. Once they were all asleep, I snuck out of the cave to change, then rushed back in. First was the big guy. I think his name was Greg. I grabbed Greg by the legs and bashed him against the wall before using his body as a club to beat the woman he was sleeping with to death. Lizzie and the other guy were panicking, but they were trapped. Hurling what was left of Greg at them, I charged in, grabbing the guy by the head and biting into Lizzie's shoulder. Somewhere in the chaos, the guy managed to pull his knife and stab me in the armpit. I released her to focus on him, and she ran. Once I'd torn him apart, I went after her. Gotta give credit where credit's due. That girl can fucking run. Even injured as badly as she was, she'd put some distance between us. Call it luck or divine intervention, but she ran into a group of rangers that were evacuating the area due to the storm. There was no point in exposing myself any more than I already had, so I had to let her go. The point is, if there's anyone who'd want to see me get fucked over, it would be her. As that thought crossed my mind, I glanced at the clock. It had been nearly 10 hours. Well, fucking shit. Getting dressed and grabbing cash from my stash, I raced out the door and headed for the store. With any luck, the cashier, Oz, would let me use his phone. I needed to reach Nate. When I got there, he was standing out front smoking a cigarette. Oz, man, I need your help. Call Nate and tell him I'm here looking for him. Taking a long, slow drag, he dug his phone out of his pocket and handed it to me.
Call him yourself. I ain't your secretary, dude.
On any other day, I probably would have smacked him around, but I let it go and made the call. After 2 or 3 rings, he picked up.
Kinda busy right now, Oz. What is it?
Where are you?
Trav? What the hell, man? I've been looking everywhere for you. Stay still, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Chuckling to myself, I ended the call and gave the phone back. Nate's 10 minutes is 30 for anyone else. Since I had time to kill, I gave Oz a couple of bucks, then ran into the store and grabbed a beer. When I got back outside, he hadn't budged. The moment I popped the top off my can, he slowly turned and looked at me.
That shit's poison, bro. You shouldn't put it in your body.
Taking a long couple of gulps and bringing the can down, I burped, then smirked. Well, if you weren't smoking a cigarette, I might take your advice. Taking one last long drag before thumping the butt into the parking lot, he glanced up at the moon.
Nobody's perfect. Some of the best advice I've ever got came from some of the worst people I've ever met.
Well, damn. That's probably the smartest thing I've ever heard you say. Bringing his attention back to me, he blinked a couple of times, then gave me a confused look.
Huh? I didn't say anything.
I mumbled. I did it to myself. What are we doing tonight, Oz? His confused expression turned to a goofy grin.
Mad honey and shrooms. I could taste sounds and hear colors. You're not even you right now, man. You look like a big shaggy dog.
He paused and blinked a few times, then wandered back into the store without finishing his sentence. I had to laugh. It was always something with him. One night he smoked salvia and thought he was in an episode of The Walking Dead. He damn near killed a couple of people who were trying to get in the store. Laughing to myself, I polished off my beer and lit a smoke of my own. Watching the traffic roll by, I kept replaying the last few hours in my head. This whole situation was fucked. I needed a way out before it got any worse. Running was out of the question. There was only one other place I could go where there were no wolves, but I didn't have the money to start over. I ran through my options for about 45 minutes before Nate finally pulled up. And of course, he started in on me as soon as the fucking door shut.
Bro, what the fuck, man? Where'd you go? We're out of time. Our guy's making a deal with those Eastside boys right now. The word's already out and shit's getting wild. There's been 2 shootouts. Cops are all over the place. We still have the one up, though. I know where they are. If we can get to the old Toy Palace building on 12th Street, we can wrap this up and be off the streets before anyone knows we did it.
With that, he hit the gas and we sped off heading towards the meet. I decided to keep the details of what happened under wraps till we were done handling our business. There was no point in clouding the air with more drama. It wasn't long and we were pulling up to the location. As we turned off the main road into the neighborhood, I heard automatic gunfire. Shit. So we're too late.
Hell no! There's no way anybody beats.
Before Nate could get the words out, a group of guys wearing hoodies and masks burst out of the front doors of the building carrying bags. We watched them sprint to the van, pile in and peel out.
Those dirty motherfuckers!
An explosion rocked the car as the building went up in flames. Our money was gone, and there was nothing we could do about it. Turning the car around and pulling back out of the lot, Nate huffed.
You owe me for this shit. Whatever you got up, I need in. This was supposed to pay off Lonnie and set me straight for a few weeks.
Laughing to myself and lighting a cigarette, I leaned back in my seat. I tell you what, how about I eat Lonnie and we rob his stash? That way you don't owe him shit and we both come up on whatever we get. Nate chuckled and let down the window.
He's a waste of fucking space, but he's my cousin and my connect. That's a 2-for-1 loss, no sir. The next run's on you. What you got?
After explaining my situation a few times, Nate finally understood there was no money in it. But that didn't stop him from wanting to get involved. I didn't really have a plan. All I had were ideas. Nate convinced me we should go talk to Lizzie. I knew exactly where she was. I wasn't lying when I said there were no other wolves in the city. She'd been living in the wildlife preserve north of the city since she turned. With the cops running wild on the streets, we decided laying low was the best option. So a trip out to the preserve was perfect. As a bonus, it would help Nate avoid Lonnie for a few days till he could come up with a way to pay him back. We planned on leaving the next morning, so Nate was crashing on my sofa for the night. We smoked and drank for a while, then as usual, he had to bring up the one subject he couldn't let go of.
You know, a lot of this could be avoided if you did me that favor.
No, not this shit again. This ain't a fucking game. There's no coming back.
Coming back to what? Besides, there's strength in numbers. We can run shit around here. We can make our own gang. What's the worst that could happen? We take over the city and get paid? I don't see the problem.
Okay, I'm gonna explain this again. A gang of werewolves is a pack. That would attract attention from some bad motherfuckers. I've got enough problems. I don't need that in my life right now. Chuckling to himself while lighting a joint, Nate got up from his seat and looked around.
We all gotta die. If we spend all of our time running from death, we'd never get anything done.
It sounded good, but I'd heard that speech at least a dozen times, and my answer stayed the same until now. Okay, genius, let's say I agree. What about this chick that's got me tagged? I'm pretty sure she's not gonna sit back and wait. That's a problem. We can't do shit as long as she's in the picture. Thinking it over for a second, Nate took a long drag and smiled.
I could kill her. Wait for her to show up and bang, it's done, and we make her move. Wait, does this mean you're gonna do it?
Maybe. Let's see what's up with Lizzie first. If it wasn't her that set this in motion, the problem might be bigger than we think. I gotta warn you though, life ain't easy for turns. She might be kinda fucked up, or she could be crazy. You just never know. Satisfied with my answer, Nate relaxed, and the night passed by quicker than I thought it would. We were supposed to be on the move at first light, but that didn't happen. It was almost noon when we hit the road. The trip was smooth and easy. There were a couple of times I thought we were being followed, but nothing happened. When we arrived at the edge of the preserve, I realized we made one huge mistake. There was no telling how long it would take to track Lizzie down, and we hadn't brought any camping supplies. Nate turned the car around and we drove an hour out of the way to find a hunting supply store. While he was inside grabbing gear, I stayed outside and watched the road. About 15 minutes later, a blue SUV pulled up into the lot and drove over to where I was standing. As soon as it came to a stop, the driver let down the window and said one word.
Sit.
Just like the last time I heard that word, I dropped into a squatting position and I sat like a dog. Smiling, the woman from the lab looked at me sitting there and shook her head.
Nice day for a drive. Doing a little camping, I see.
Fuck you, bitch. What the hell do you want now? Taking her attention off me for a second, she looked in her rearview mirror and said,
Keep your eyes on the prize, gentlemen. Give me 2 minutes.
She paused for a moment, then nodded and got out, adjusting her skirt and dusting away some lint. She smirked at me and said,
Oh, Travis, you poor simple thing. One way or the other, you'll do exactly what I tell you to do. Right now, I'm being nice, but remember who's in control here. If you try to run, we'll find you, and the gloves come off. So enjoy your trip. Just make sure you get back to where you belong. Understood?
I wanted to bite her face off and rip her guts out. I wouldn't even eat her. I just would fuck her up and tear her to shreds. Smirking at the thought, I sat there silent. She got back into the car and said,
Go play.
Then drove off. As I sat there in anger. She pulled out onto the highway, and I realized I was back in control of myself. Before I could stand up, I heard Nate's voice from behind me.
What are you doing? You know what? Never mind. I don't want to know. You owe me $200 for your half of the shit I just bought. Come on, man, get it together. Let's go. It's about to be dark soon.
standing up, stretching, then turning around. I growled to myself and kicked the shopping cart he was using. She was just here. I told you they were following us. I knew it. I fucking knew it. A little confused, Nate looked where I'd been squatting, then to the highway, and finally at me. His eyes lit up and his mouth dropped open when he realized what I was saying.
What? Why? What? Why didn't you know?
He paused and pretended his hands were claws and growled, then continued.
Do your thing and shred that bitch.
Trying not to smack him, I gave him the details while we loaded the gear into the car. As he closed the trunk, he stopped and asked,
Is she hot?
laughing and opening the door. I stopped to pull a cigarette out. You know, you're a sick bastard. You need some professional help. Stepping over to the driver's side, he shrugged.
I'm just saying, man, inquiring minds want to know. I'm just saying, every time you bring her up in my mind, I see a dominatrix. Maybe a little nerdy on top, but you can see the freak leaking through. Yeah, sounds right to me.
Lighting a smoke and taking a drag, I exhaled and chuckled. Get in the fucking car. By the time we made it back to the preserve, parked the car, and got moving, the sun was setting. After hiking for an hour, we set up camp near a creek and got a fire started. Nate's shopping spree. Bought us sleeping bags, backpacks, a lantern, a machete, and a pair of walkie-talkies along with the batteries for everything. The only thing he didn't buy was food. When I pointed that out, he looked at the fire for a second, then at me.
Damn, yeah, I didn't think that one through. Well, we're in the woods, so you could, kill something and bring it back?
What? No, I'm not doing that. What the fuck is wrong with you? How about you walk back to the car and go to the store?
Hell no. If I go to the car, I'm not coming back. Besides, you hunt shit all the time. This should be easy for you.
It's not the same. People are easier to catch.
That's fucked up.
We both started laughing. Then I got up and went down to the creek for some water. The moment I set foot near the creek, I caught Lizzie's scent. It was faint. She was pretty far away, but she was definitely in the area. Kneeling down, dipping my hands into the water, I caught a whiff of something else. Campers. The smell of bug spray, perfume, and hot dogs told me everything I needed to know. After taking a few sips of water, I headed back to the camp and told Nate the good news. Grabbing his pistol and hopping up, he smiled.
Point him out. I'll do the rest.
Easy there, calm down. I was thinking we could offer to buy some food off of them. We don't need a search party out here kicking up dust. Give me $20. I'll go over and see what we can get. Putting his hand in his pocket, Nate paused.
Why am I paying for everything? Use your own money, you cheap bastard.
Fine, but I'm taking it out of the 200. You're getting 180.
That means I'm still paying for this.
Exactly. Laughing to myself, I told him to stay put and headed off to find the other campers. Following their scent was easy. It took less than an hour to track them down. Since I didn't want to spook them, I watched them from a distance for a while. There were two couples seated by a fire roasting hot dogs and passing a couple of joints around. They were all young and looked fairly harmless, so I waited for my moment, then announced myself and waved my hands so they could see me. Turns out, they were only there for one night, collecting shrooms, and they'd bought way too much food, so they gave it to me for free. They did, on the other hand, sell me a bag of shrooms they'd harvested earlier in the day. When I made it back to our camp, we ate and got some rest. I have to admit, I'd been wondering how Lizzie was doing out here on her own. Lots of naturals choose not to eat humans, but it's rare for turns. I partly expected to find her in wolf form and completely insane. When humans become wolves, the change is so painful that a lot of them die. The ones that don't tend to stay in wolf form as long as they can, but that drives them fucking nuts. That's why most turns become pack members. It teaches them how to live with what they are. Without that guidance, the chances are they won't live very long. Lizzie had been on her own for 2 years, and I hadn't heard any reports about sightings or animal attacks. She had been sticking to animals, or hunting so far off the grid, it was going unnoticed. Either way, she seemed to be doing okay by herself. Lying there listening to the fire, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the woman from the lab and what she wanted. For the last few years, I'd done my best to avoid others for a reason. Not that long ago, I was a member of a small pack. There were 5 of us, 2 naturals and 3 turns. We operated more like a gang than a pack. Things were low-key inside. From random shootouts and occasional robberies, I guess we made a little too much noise because the Northerners sent down scouts to see what we were up to. Once they caught our scent, they were on us. Every legitimate pack has to have a set of breeding naturals. Since we hadn't been able to find any females, they attempted to bribe us by sending 2 down. If we accepted, we would answer to the Gray Rock clan. They're the biggest northern pack, with territories from Alaska through Canada, down into Minnesota, and a good portion of the Northeast. When we rejected the offer, things went bad. They attacked us and killed one of our turns. We caught them, skinned them, and put them through the meat grinder. That kicked off a war that lasted for weeks. In the end, they sent a death squad, and they wiped us out. Since I was the alpha, they chained me up and cut me open so the rats could eat me alive. The funny thing is, the rats are how I escaped. After I ate a few of them, I had enough strength to change and break out. I had to hide in the sewers to cover my scent while I healed. When I was finally able to travel, I left and wound up here in the preserve. And the rest, as they say, is history. Since I obviously wasn't getting any sleep, I got up and went to the creek. It was a quiet night, and the sky was clear. It was almost peaceful. I say almost, because the moment I get near the water, I caught Lizzie's scent. She was getting closer. She was still pretty far off, but definitely on the move. Lighting a cigarette, I thought about it for a second, then went back to camp. When I got there, Nate was sitting by the fire picking through the bag of shrooms. You might want to pause on that. Plucking a couple from the bag and popping them into his mouth, he looked at me and shrugged.
Too late, man. Wine, what's up?
Lizzie's on the move. Not sure how long it might take her to get here, but we need to be ready. Standing up and stretching, Nate looked around.
Good. You two can hug it out and we can get back to the city.
She's gonna try to kill us. You know that, right? Well, me for sure. I don't know how she'll react to you, though. That gives me an idea. If she's not eating people, she might not attack you. You might be able to talk to her without getting mauled.
I might be able to say, fuck you, I ain't doing it. If she decides today's a cheat day and breaks a diet, I'm dead. Think of something else.
We tossed a few more ideas around until the shrooms kicked in. I spent the better part of the next hour listening to Nate's version of reality. When that was over, he crashed out for the night. And I couldn't have been happier. At some point, I finally dozed off. But it didn't last long. As the sun came up, I was ready to get moving. Since Lizzie's scent was strongest by the creek, we decided following it was the best option. As soon as we got there, I knew there was a problem. Her scent was fading. She was moving away. Ah, shit. We're gonna have to double time it. She's turned around. Pulling the walkies from his bag and passing one to me, Nate yawned.
Go on ahead, I'll catch up. My stomach's killing me. If I don't let this out, there's gonna be a problem.
His gut made a bubbling groan. Wincing and clutching his stomach, he muffled.
Ooh, gotta go.
Then hurried back into the woods. Clipping the radio to the strap of my backpack, I chuckled and headed out. Not having him with me meant I could pick up the pace. It was probably better we weren't together when we found Lizzie. If she had gone feral, it was gonna get ugly. The one with the gun's better off being on the outside. Nate's a good shot, but that pistol won't stop either of us. It could be a good distraction at the right time, though. With that in mind, I jogged away. In no time, I was lost in my own mind, letting my body do the work. Since I hadn't fed in a few days, I didn't have the energy to change. Taking on Lizzie in my human skin was gonna be rough. There's a chance she could do some real damage. But even in this form, naturals are stronger than turns any day of the week. The further I went, other scents started drifting in. The musky smell of blood and fur hit me, turning my jog into a run. Before I knew it, I had strayed away from the creek and was full on sprinting through the woods. It wasn't long before I was standing over what was left of a deer. Her scent was all over it. By the look of it, she was still hunting like a human. Nothing went to waste. All that was left were guts and bones. She clearly wasn't feral, that was for sure. Staring at the leftovers, I realized I'd been wrong. She wasn't coming for us. She was hunting the deer. The odds were, she didn't even know I was there. The first thing I did was get on the radio and tell Nate where I was and how to get there. Her scent was getting stronger by the minute. Weaving between trees, ducking branches, and hopping over roots, I found myself at the edge of the woods. staring at the mountains. This was it. She was close, but I couldn't see her. Rather than waste a bunch of time searching the cliffs and caves, I did the one thing that would get her attention right away. I walked over to an area where her scent was the strongest and took a piss. Marking someone else's territory is a quick way to start a fight. Now it was a waiting game. I called Nate and told him how to find me, then took my pack off and got comfortable. It didn't take long for her to get my message. She came bounding down the mountain ready for war. As turns go, she was impressive. Standing a little over 7 feet tall, with smoky gray fur and bright yellow eyes, she could almost pass for a natural. All naturals have pointed ears, while terns are more rounded. Hers were slightly pointed with black tips. Snarling and locking eyes with me, she slowly started circling to my left. There was no point in saying anything. Even if she wasn't pissed off, she would be trying to kill me. After a few steps, she moved in quickly. Her attack was wild and sloppy, all teeth, no claws. She'd gotten used to attacking animals. After dodging the first few snaps and sidestepping a mistimed swipe at my legs, I rocked her with a hard right that connected on the hinge of her jaw. Regaining her balance, she threw a wicked backhand, smacking me square in the chin, knocking me away from her. Before I could recover, she lunged in, jaws open, ready to take a bite. She went for my throat. I was barely able to move in time, but her tooth cut me from my chin to my ear. Dipping low and stepping right, I avoided another wild swipe and countered with an uppercut. The shot bought me enough time to grab her by the arm and pull her off balance. With my grip on her wrist locked in, my next step put me in position to grab her by the scuff of the neck with my free hand. Scruffling her while kicking her legs from underneath her, I put her face down in the dirt. The plan was to dominate her into giving up so we could talk, but she wasn't making it easy. Growling and snatching out of my grasp, she turned and sank her teeth into my arm and snapped her head to one side, slamming me to the ground. That moment was all it took for her to get to her feet, but I'm quick. We were both up in a half a second. For the first time since the fight started, I caught her with her mouth closed and took advantage. A hard shot straight to the throat made her wheeze before I followed up with a heavy liver shot that brought her to her knees. Grabbing her by the muzzle with one hand and her jaw with the other, I cranked her mouth open and dislocated her jaw. She yelped and tried to break away, but I forced her to the ground and mounted her from behind. With her weapon gone, she would have no choice but to submit. The one thing I hadn't factored in was how awkward this was gonna look. And of course, on cue, Nate shows up. He comes running out of the bushes, waving his gun around, and comes to a full stop when he sees us. Lowering his weapon and watching for a moment, he scoffed.
Hey, you two need a minute?
Lizzie fought for a while longer, but I managed to keep her down until she finally accepted defeat. As she started transforming to her human skin, I got up, took off my jacket, so she could cover up when she was finished. Still winding down from running, Nate sat down on a big boulder and said,
Please tell me we did not come out here for you to get some ass.
Ignoring him, I watched Lizzie, making sure she didn't try anything. Now that she was human again, she glared at me, wincing, as her jaw cracked, then shifted back into place. When it was done, she spat a gob of blood on the dirt and grumbled,
Asshole.
Sitting up on the jacket, she never took her eyes off me.
What do you want?
We came out here to talk. I have a question I need answered.
You murdered my friends and turned me into a freak. Fuck your question. I hope you die.
Fair enough. But you're gonna tell me what I want to know. Lizzie scoffed, finally breaking her glare.
Or what, you're gonna kill me? Go ahead. It can't be any worse than this.
Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna drag you back to the city, chain you up for a couple of weeks, then when you're starving, I'm gonna cut you loose in the club district and watch you go apeshit. The look on her face was priceless. For someone like her, the thought of eating people was worse than death. Putting her head down, she grumbled,
Fine. What do you want to know?
That wasn't so hard, was it? Did anyone come through here looking for naturals lately? Before she could respond, Nate spoke up.
Ask her if she wants to join up.
No.
To which question?
To both. No. I'm not joining up, and no. Nobody's come through here. Are we done?
I studied her reaction for a second, then nodded. She was telling the truth. Yeah, we're good. But tell me something. How many times have you changed? Getting up, dusting herself off, she snarled, then turned and walked away without answering. After watching her for a second, I called out, Hey, can I get my fucking jacket back? Still walking away, she flipped me the middle finger and disappeared into the forest. Chapter 3. On the Hunt. After spending an extra night in the woods, we headed back to the city. Nate dropped me off at home, and I spent most of the day sleeping. When I woke up, I was starving. It had been a week since I fed, and human food wasn't cutting it. Since it was Friday night, the nightclub district would be jumping. Once I'd cleaned myself up, I hit the streets and headed for the west side. Strolling up to the bus stop, I watched some homeless lady digging through a trash can. If it wasn't so close to home, I would have had dinner right then. Putting the thought out of my mind and moving on, I stopped by the store for some smokes. Oz was off, and there was a new guy named Sal at the register. I didn't bother making small talk. Most people quit after a week or two. Good thing I didn't. That little stop almost made me miss the bus. The ride takes an hour or so there was plenty of time to relax. I sat in the back by the window staring out at the city. The neon haze that hangs over downtown always puts me at ease for some reason. I couldn't stop thinking about everything. I believed Lizzie because she wouldn't have been there if the lab lady had gotten to her first. I knew it wasn't Nate. He may be a lot of things, but he ain't a snitch. That didn't leave many options. I knew I'd been fucking up. Hell, a few months back, I ate a cop then used his badge and squad car to pick up victims. The drugs probably weren't helping either. I killed a few dealers just to get high. Even with all that, I couldn't figure out how they were able to pick me out in my human skin. That was just baffling. Thinking it over, I glanced at my reflection in the glass and rubbed the new scar on my face. I looked like everyone else. How'd they know what I was? Seeing my stop was coming up, I put it out of my mind and rang the bell. As soon as I stepped off the bus, I remembered why I'd loved the club district. Hipsters, college kids, and hustlers. It was like an all-you-can-eat buffet. The downside is the layout. There are not many places to grab a snack without being seen. But I know the place like the back of my hand. I lived here for a while when I first came to the city. This would be my first time hunting here, and I had the home field advantage. My first stop was River Street. That's where all the bars are. There's almost always some group of idiots trying to swim the river. The goal is to have a signature drink at every bar on the strip and take pictures galore. It's a local thing. I don't think anyone's actually done the whole street, but there's a shitload of pictures taped on the statue, so who knows? Lighting a cigarette, I strolled the block, taking in the scents and watching the crowd. It was still a little early, but I could tell it was going to be a good night. Once I made it to the halfway point, I picked out a bar and went in for a beer. This would be my fishing hole for the night. Any swimmers making it to this point would be good and drunk and easy pickings. 2 hours and a few drinks later, 3 young guys stroll in, talking loud and laughing. After 4 or 5 minutes of listening to their conversation, I paid my tab and headed out. I picked the halfway point because it's the only area with direct access to the alleyways that run behind everything on the block. I picked this bar because it was closest to the alley. They'd have to pass it to keep going. When they did, it was game on. Picking out a nice dark spot, I got comfortable. It wasn't long before they went walking by. I tracked them through the next 4 bars. Gotta admit, I was impressed. They were gonna finish the river. Too bad they weren't gonna get to enjoy it. In order to get to the statue, they would have to pass through the park. While they were celebrating in the bar, I went and got ready. The park was huge. The tourist statue sits at the center of the park. So, they'd be going through the woods. Since I still needed a meal so I could change, the first kill was the most important. Once I had a good view of the street, all I had to do was wait. After an hour, they came staggering out into the sidewalk. I was watching them walking and laughing and celebrating their victory. The tallest of the 3 lagged behind. The alcohol was getting the best of him. By the time they made it to the trail, he stopped to hurl at least twice. I gave them a few more minutes before I moved in. The staggering boy was first. Once he'd fallen far enough behind, I blindsided him, coming in fast. I rammed my shoulder into his ribs and heard them crack. It sent him flying. He smacked against a tree, then crumpled to the ground unconscious. I was on him in a heartbeat. Using the heel of my foot, I caved in his skull, then dragged him into the brush. Every bite of fresh meat brought the beast out in me. Before I knew it, I was stripping away my skin, snarling, hungry for more. I could hear the others coming, and one of them called out,
Pete, come on, man! Shake it off! We're almost there!
As soon as they were in sight, I got quiet. The one talking asked,
Pete? You okay? Where are you?
Those were his last words. I leapt out onto the trail. He froze in place. The other guy instantly took off running. Since I couldn't let him get away, I ran past the talker, extending my left hand using my claws to rip his guts out. I managed to grab a fistful of stuff and put it in my mouth. As I hawked it down, the last man standing was still running. Now that the other two were down, I could have fun with this one. Rather than tackling him and finishing it, I got close enough to grab his leg and make him face plant in the dirt. The second he landed, I backed off and vanished into the woods. I watched him from the shadows as he scrambled to his feet, looking in every direction till he spotted me. Once he knew exactly where I was, he ran in the opposite direction trying to get away. I raced up on his right, running alongside him, growling before speeding up and passing him. Changing directions, hoping to avoid me, he turned left and got clotheslined by a low-hanging branch. Again, I backed off and got silent. This time, I hid so he couldn't see me. When he got up, I growled. I swear he shit himself and started crying. At this point, the guy's a dirty, blubbering mess. He was done. Rather than waste another second, I rushed him from behind and bit his head off. After eating my fill and shifting back to my human skin, I searched the bodies. I wound up with $300, 2 Zippos, 2 packs of smokes, and a few grams of coke. Since the night was young, I cleaned myself up, got dressed, and hit the streets. The clubs were in full swing at this point, so I bounced from club to club, having fun and drinking. It was around 2 in the morning, so I was leaving my last stop for the night with some drunk chick I picked up. As soon as we got to her car, I heard a familiar voice say one word.
Sleep.
And everything went black.
Wake up.
I could smell pine and ammonia before my eyes opened. I was back in my cell. When I sat up, I was surprised to see the lab lady sitting across from me. With no hesitation, I'd lunged for her. She didn't even flinch. With a slight smirk, she said,
Stop.
And every muscle in my body locked up, dropping me on the floor. A voice in the control booth called out,
Is everything all right, Dr. Price?
Waving a dismissive hand, she turned her attention to me.
You've been bad. I didn't punish you for trying to hide Isabel from us, but now you've gone too far. We tolerate you killing addicts and street scum, but when you start eating important people, we have a problem. One of the young men you murdered was the son of the state's district attorney. That's a big no-no. I have to take responsibility because I didn't explain the rules. So let me make this clear. You do not kill civilians. Gangsters, drug dealers, addicts, and homeless people are on the menu. We'll even support your attempt to take over the streets. But the minute you cross that line again, you're done.
So, it's okay to kill people as long as it's the right people? I don't know, Doc. Sounds a little racist. You might want to rethink that shit. She sneered at me, then smirked and tilted her head back. Before she could say anything, I cut her off. How'd you know what I was? Out of everyone in that bar, why did you pick me? Smiling at the question, Price chuckled, then sighed.
That was the easy part. They stamped your hand when you entered the bar. The ink in the stamp is designed to turn blue when one of your kind is marked.
So, no one led you to me. I was just in the right place at the wrong fucking time. Figures.
Not quite. We've been tracking your activity, and despite your attempts to go unnoticed, you formed a pattern. You used the city bus to get around. Your kills lined up with the bus routes. Technically, you led us to you. The area we picked you up in was the only part of the route that hadn't been hit.
Well, that's good to know. So, what is it this time? Why am I here?
I've already told you why you were brought in. Now that that's out of the way and we have an understanding, it's time for you to go.
Wait. What did you mean by support? Rather than answer the question, she leaned in close, looked at me, and said,
Sleep.
The smell of salt water and motor oil filled my lungs as the doc's voice brought me back to the land of the living. We were at the port, backed by 4 armed guards and 2 SUVs. Price stood, smiling at me. Once I was fully awake, she spoke up.
From now on, when you need something, you come here and talk to Mr. Fitzpatrick.
She paused and motioned to the building across the street from us. There was a huge billboard above it that read, Fitz got you covered. The store took up most of the block, and it was lit up with blue neon lights that lined the roof. From what I could tell, they sold everything from bait to boats, and even had a small restaurant inside. Clearing her throat to bring my attention back to her, Price motioned to one of the guards. A big guy stepped over and tossed a small duffel bag at me, then got back in place before the doc said,
That should be enough to get you started. Just remember, no civilians, and stay out of our way when the time comes.
With that, the guards escorted her to the lead car. Then they all piled in and drove away.